Hey everyone, welcome. We're super thrilled, and it's my absolute pleasure to have joining us today as our guest for our inaugural CG Riff podcast episode. The one and only Mr. Frank Abney is in the house. Thank you so much, Frank, for stopping by. We're really excited to have you share with all the listeners about your story, your journey. I know you've been a huge inspiration to so many in the industry, including myself. And you've got a lot of big things going on. You made some recent announcements about current projects you're working on, and we're excited to get into all of that. So, without further ado, let's get right into it. Let's start off. Just tell the people out there. Obviously, you have a super long list of credits to your name at this point. You've worn a lot of hats. You've touched so many projects. But just go ahead and try to kind of start us from the beginning. How did you find your way into this thing called animation, and what's your journey been like so far?
Yeah, first, thank you for thinking of me to be on here. It's I've been a fan of your work as well. So it's like, yeah, I'm glad to see that you're doing this and happy to be a part of it. So I appreciate it. Um, and just thinking of the journey, I feel like my start getting into animation wasn't under the greatest of circumstances. Like I feel like it all started when my dad passed, unfortunately. So he passed away when I was 5. And I was already drawing, around 2 to 3, somewhere around there, my mom tells me. But after my dad passed and my mom having to work a lot, it was there was a lot of me getting swept away into storytelling, whether it was books, cartoons, movies. Like that was my thing, and especially after the passing, that was kind of my source of comfort. I think we all want to experience some kind of happy ending, and for me and animation, I feel like The Lion King was the catalyst for my wanting to venture in that direction. Because that was the first movie I really connected with on a deep level like that. I was what was I, like, probably like 8 or 9 or so when it came out, and then when it came out on VHS, no exaggeration, like I would come home from school and I would watch it every day, like every day. I didn't know why I would watch it. It was just something about it that just kept me, like I just kept coming back, and as I got older, I realized that connection. Just Simba losing his dad, and those responsibilities that he had on his shoulders, becoming stepping into that new phase of his life, and that was a lot of stuff that my mom would talk to me about. And so, like, I didn't know what an animator was or anything like that, but it was like I know I wanted to be a part of that, and in some way. And then like, fast forward through high school, I kept drawing and stuff. Got into BMX, of course, but like the drawing thing was the most consistent, and it was around when we're thinking of colleges to go to and all that. Like we have the I guess the normal path, that the schools try to push us in. But there was a community college that had like an illustration program. It's like illustration. I was like, that's okay. That's not the same as animation, but And then my friend brought up this other college. They didn't have an animation program, but they had a multimedia program, and I didn't know what I needed to know.
Yeah.
um, but so I went there for a year. So okay, this isn't it. And then I ended up transferring, going to Art Institute, and that's where I stayed and got my degree there. And then animation mentor right after. And I actually started working while I was at Art Institute. I got my first job, so I was working at a small company in Irvine. Like, they were doing like short films and stuff, and um, I was doing some character modeling stuff, like aging up a character, and then from there I got my next job, like after school, working on like it was kind of like a kid's version of The Sims. um, doing like everything. I was a 3D artist, so I was doing animation, but I was also um, doing the character models, and the
Oh wow.
texturing
Yeah.
and the lighting and the hair, and rendering out all the isometric views for the game. and uh, and then from there jumped into I was working on a TV show pilot over at Lightstream Animation.
Oh yeah, up in Petaluma. Yeah, yeah,
Yeah, yeah. Jamie Wheelis.
yeah.
Yeah, and then from there, throughout all this, I was still like at home trying to work on my reel and doing acting shots over and over, just trying to get better because I wanted to get in a feature. And so um, I finally got the chance after I think at this time I was working at Crystal Dynamics. I just finished up on the Tomb Raider reboot, and when I got the opportunity to go to Disney, so I went over there and fast forward Disney, DreamWorks, Pixar, and Netflix here. But yeah, the main getting into it, was definitely Lion King and some Loss, which was
That
you know
was a really understated fast forward. I mean, we're talking about some of the biggest films of all time. We're talking Frozen in there, Big Hero 6, right? Kung Fu Panda 3, Boss Baby, on and on, right? So many things,
yeah.
and of course, you came to Pixar what on Coco? Was
Yeah,
that your
Coco was the
first?
first one there. Yeah,
Yeah, so you got what, Coco, TS4,
Coco.
I2.
Yeah,
Did you do a little bit on
and
Onward?
then yeah, I worked on Onward for about a month. So I did a handful of shots on that. I wasn't credited because the rules of how long you're on a
Like
project,
five,
but
6 weeks or whatever. Yeah,
yeah.
yeah.
So it was I spent some time on that, and then got on to Soul early. Was on like the Cultural Trust, and then that's when you came along on Soul,
Yeah,
and
that's when our
then
first, not our first, but yeah, our brief time together at Pixar. Yeah, right at
yeah,
the end of
yeah.
Soul, before the world shut down. Yeah,
And yeah, and then some of the special projects along the way, like some of the shorts, like Auntie Edna, and um, there was a Toy Story 4 thing that I had worked on as well. um, but yeah, and then along well, actually before that, like when I first got into feature, that's when I started working on my short film Canvas, and then from there, just over the course of like 6 years, and I think I'd been on like I don't know around 8 films during that time of working on that short, working on that in the spare time, which thankfully you pitched in and helped us with some animation on there, so thank you.
I did.
But
Yeah, that was my absolute pleasure to get to help you bring that one across the finish line. To all the viewers out there, I have my Canvas crew shirt on, just to represent Frank as our special guest today. But no, I actually, so my first path crossing with you was actually when we were helping on Book of Mojo, Everett Downing's
yeah.
short. Was I Montague Ruffin had got me involved with that, and I think that's when I first crossed paths with you. But yeah, when you said you were looking for people to help out with Canvas, that was like a no brainer. I just had to jump on that, even if it was just a few shots. And it turned out
Yeah.
beautifully. And I have some more questions
Thanks,
about
man.
that later, actually, but we'll get into that in a bit.
Cool.
And first of all, I guess kind of a broader question, because as you just mentioned, you mentioned a ton of projects, a ton of different studios. On
Mm.
top of that, you were involved with Hair Love, right? Or you were EP or something with that.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
you helped like almost any cool project I hear about that's going on, you have some sort of hand in it, right? You were helping Jamal Bradley with Substance at one point, and all these
Yeah.
types of things. Like every cool project that comes along, Frank finds some time to get on it. How do you find the time in your busy schedule and stay,
Mm.
I guess, passionate this far into your career with so many credits, under your belt? How do you find that motivation to kind of just stay hungry and stay passionate to always be spinning
Um,
a lot of plates like that?
like I mean, I always see all this stuff as temporary. Like it's I feel like at any moment it can be taken away. It can be swept away. Like so just trying to enjoy creating and helping others create as well. There's other short films that I've consulted on and try to um, jump on a Zoom call to like answer some questions and give feedback or whatever it is. Like just trying to I don't know. I just going back to the I guess the importance of storytelling for me. When I first like got I guess bitten by the bug. So going back to that, I feel like I know the importance of getting those stories out of our heads and out of our hearts, because a lot of times, it's something personal that you're trying to get out. And I know that's how it is for me. Every story that I'm telling or that I'm trying to develop, I have some kind of personal connection to it. So whether it was Canvas, and then I mean, um, Lanoya Substance, even Blue Emoji, like all these, there was something that I connected to as to why I wanted to be a part of it. And um, even the film that I was developing at Netflix, like there was something that I really connected to. And so just knowing the importance of I guess putting your heart on display, and and seeing that through and connecting to people with that, others that may feel the same way, and just this idea of um, not feeling alone in the world. That's something that I hold really important in my life. So I would try my hardest to make time. It doesn't always
Yeah.
work out, and some things fall through the cracks, and things happen, but like I try. So
No, that's powerful, and it's inspiring to me. So I'm sure it's inspiring to a lot of the viewers out there as well. So it's kind of a good segue, because a lot of people, as they're starting out their career, they have a goal. They're either trying to get to a Disney or
mm,
DreamWorks, Pixar. You've been at basically every major studio in North America at this point. Um, what was that transition like for you? Like, if people are trying their whole life trying to get to Pixar, you achieved all
mm,
of those goals. You scaled the mountain. You made it to the top in a lot of ways.
mm,
How did you know when it was time to transition? To leave and sort of transition into a different type of role. Is that
mm,
something that was born out of the success of Canvas, or the experience and kind of getting comfortable in that director's chair, or like what was sort of the
mm.
catalyst that inspired that progression of your career?
Yeah, I think, I mean, it was definitely, I mean, from college, I that was when I wrote my first script, um, for
Nice.
a film that I never pursued. I didn't know that
Yeah.
much about backing stuff up and all that. My laptop got stolen, so the script was
Oh
gone.
no.
I could have rewritten it because it was all in my head, but like, that was my first taste into um or my taste of uh jumping into a different part of storytelling. There was, because I was really attracted to the performances, that I would see on screen. And as a kid, I was always imitating and all that stuff, and voices and all that, like trying to, I don't know. I was fascinated by movement and fascinated with characters, and I would people watch with my mom at restaurants and stuff. So it was like character was always like a part of me. And so when I figured out what an animator was, I was like, oh, like I think that's the thing. And then, um, but when I started diving into like crafting a story like as a whole, like I was like, oh, like no, that's the thing. I think that's just having a wider view of the whole
Yeah.
thing, and also just being interested in all the different areas, all the disciplines that go into it. I was, yeah, I'd say the I mean the first short I did a short film back when I was in college also, one I didn't finish also. And then Canvas kind of, that was the one that I actually was like, I the one that I did as a professional. And so there was a lot more being put into it, and that definitely lit the fire. And there was no success yet, like because it was still working on it by the time I left Pixar. So um, yeah, I hadn't gotten the news that that it was gonna that Netflix wanted to take it on and all that. So it was just I had an opportunity with a story that was brought to my attention, and I was like, well, it was like that Miles Morales moment. I'm on the side of the building, and I'm
Yeah.
like okay, I guess I'm gonna
Leap of
have to
faith.
take this leap. There it actually reminds me of this book that I read, The Big Leap. And one of the things it talks about in there is this the difference between the there's the zone of genius and the zone of excellence. And I talk about this a lot with people, where you can be in your zone of excellence, like, and be fine in your career and life. It's this space where everything's going well. You're good at what you're doing. You're able to progress. You're continuing, like everything's great. But that zone of genius is that place, that unknown, that thing that forces you to grow and forces you to jump into, um, confronting that fear. And I had that definitely in animation. Definitely every project kind of brought that out. But this was a whole different level. And so even though it was something, um, different on a different level, it was something that was, I guess it goes back to my BMX thing. There's this fear and excitement that kind of goes hand in hand. And but yeah, I'd say jumping into to canvas, and then kind of taking that chance on myself was definitely something that, needed to happen at that time. And I was kind of, I was inching toward it, and just had to finally do it. I think the last film Soul, a little bit on, no, Incredibles 2 also, like I was starting to watch the directors a lot more and seeing, kind of
Yeah.
looking at how they maneuver, how they inspire their team, how they're, navigating through dailies and struggles and stuff like that. And I started just taking all that in, and then just I had my wings were glued and ready to jump.
Awesome. Yeah, I'm sure working under Brad Bird was a masterclass in really kind
That
of
was, man.
seeing the conductor conduct the whole
If
orchestra
I could do
with
that
the
again,
excitement
I
that he
would.
does.
Yeah,
Yeah, yeah. I hate that I missed that one. But
man.
yeah, so I want to back up a little bit because
Hmm.
you mentioned Canvas. Did Netflix originally approach you? I know you were doing that independently at first. I remember the Kickstarter and all
Yeah.
of that. Did you shop that around, or did they just kind of caught wind of it and approached you with interest in terms of distribution of that?
It was there was early interest, through social media. So like,
Oh
when I
wow,
was as I was making progress, um, as I was making progress on it, I got to a point where the characters were at a good place, and I started feeling comfortable. Like, it's like, okay, I'm gonna start sharing stuff, because I was trying to, I'd like to move in silence a little bit in the shadows.
yeah,
And but I also wanted to create some buzz for it, because I didn't know, venturing into this space. I don't, just I don't know much about marketing on a large scale, and didn't have the money to do this and that. So I was like, okay, this is free, so let me see how I can leverage this. So, I knew it'd be great to at least spark a buzz about it, so there's some interest when it does release. Um,
yeah,
so I released the characters, and then, there's one of the posts that really took off, and then I ended up getting a message, and uh, they were the head of family entertainment at the time at Netflix, and they're like, I think it's something that we should get behind. And so that was exciting, and I took that, and as we progressed on the short, I just kept in touch and kept updating progress when we would hit certain milestones. And then by the time it was done, like throughout, it was kind of like, we don't know what we're going to do with shorts, if we're going to do anything with shorts. But in that off chance that they did, I didn't want to, I try to keep in touch, and
yeah.
keep our names fresh with them. So by the time it was done and they were ready, things just kind of synced up. So
Awesome. You hear that, everyone?
I
That's a great lesson to not be afraid to show your work. Sometimes putting your stuff out there can catch the eyes of
Yeah.
the right people and really open up a lot of doors. I have a lot of people who are always kind of like, "Oh, is it too early to show this?" Or "Oh, I don't want to put my stuff out there." But you have to, right? That the squeaky
Yeah.
wheel often gets the grease. So
Yeah.
that's
It's
so
not.
cool that worked out that way. It started from something you were literally kind of kickstarting for finishing funds and whatnot, and then really
Mm,
got an opportunity to be distributed on such a wide scale for the world to see and enjoy. I love
Yeah.
when I'm scrolling through and it has the little thumbnail. I think it's my shot is often the thumbnail with the fuck her looking through
Yeah,
the
yeah,
door.
yeah.
It's sometimes the thumbnail on when you're like
That
going
was
through recently watched or whatever.
I never told you this, but that was actually like, we would hear, some of the I guess analytics, based on like which buttons are most clicked and which, and that was one of them that was like, because
Yeah,
we had to create multiple images that,
yeah.
to be used, because based on the algorithm of what people watch, they would choose different images that, can appeal to them. And that
Hmm.
one consistently was like
Awesome.
the
Yeah. That's the opening shot on my reel right now. Actually,
yeah. Oh,
coming in the door is just a good opening. Yeah, uh, awesome.
nice.
Yeah, yeah, that was exciting to have started on something. When you pitched it to me, when I reached out to get involved, it was pretty grassroots still, and then to see it go on, to really receive
I'm
such acclaim
I'm
was
still I'm
outstanding.
still shocked. And then we ended up getting this guy too over there.
Oh yeah, tell us about that. That's the NAACP one.
Yeah, yeah, like
Yeah,
that.
yeah.
We ended up nabbing that guy with this short too, and it was like, yeah, I'm again like floored. I'm in shock. Just yeah. So I mean I didn't even know. I remember asking about, well, just asking Paige, our producer, like when we were trying to think of just ways to like, continue getting it out there, and like, even certain awards to like, put us in the running for and all that kind of stuff. And I remember wondering, I was like, I don't think they do. I don't think they have. And as we were submitted, through, Netflix, they had done that work on our behalf. And yeah, I got a message randomly that of congratulations about like being nominated. I was like, wait, what? And then yeah, fast forward, like I'm not one that like, I don't consider myself lucky or I win things or things work out in that way. Like, even though I look back and see how fortunate and blessed I've been, um, with that stuff, I just, I don't think too much about it. And then so when it was called out, when we won, I was like, what the, I didn't know. This isn't real.
Well, it
That's
all
wild
points
though.
to what broad impact and wide reaching reach, I guess you've had as it pertains
Hmm.
to the African American community as well, right? There's so much conversation around
Um,
representation in media and behind representation behind the camera, like who's directing these things.
mm,
And I think it's just such a beautiful example of that, and your impact has been significant and is continuing, and that actually segues to my next kind of thing I'm almost most excited to talk about. I just saw very recently that you announced on your socials that you're working on another short film. What can you
yeah.
tell us about Black Man, Black Man? I knew I had to have you come on because it's Black History Month. I really wanted to kind of be the first to help spread the word about what you're cooking up next. What can you tell us about the project, and more importantly, are you looking for any help on it? Is there any ways that our viewers can get involved, either supporting like with the Kickstarter like you did last time, or
Mm.
just tell us the state of things with that.
Yeah, I mean, I appreciate that. And yeah, so Black Man, yeah, it came about it came about in the form of a poem that I wrote one day. It was, I was doing my own, healing. I was going through my own kind of healing, and through I had, I had a therapist, and I was talking to a coach, and all this, and there was a lot of healing going on, and there was, uh, I was kind of confronted with I guess, the child version of myself. So you see the main image. It's a boy and a man, you know, walking toward each other, and so that image, and in the short, and in the poem, it's basically me, and I think, well, more than me, and not just black men either, men, women, everybody. It's a confronting those feelings that we may wrestle with on the daily, that we never or may never get to express outwardly. These feelings that sometimes we may not feel like we can express, or um, and just accepting those feelings and knowing what we deserve, and and knowing what's okay to feel. Whether you're who whatever walk of life you come from, it's okay to feel these things. As a man, it's okay to feel fear. It's okay to cry. It's okay, like, just so all these feelings, taking those and realizing the the gift you are to the world, and presenting yourself to the world as that. And so, it kind of goes through just, some of those emotions, and just kind of a small snippet, day in the life kind of thing. And I wanted to do something, a little more personal. And I mean, Canvas was personal, but this is a little different. And yeah, so I thought I'd start to share it out there. I've been at it for a little bit, and got some great people involved. Syncing back up with Paige, who is my producer on Canvas, and got Aldis Hodge and Yvette Nicole Brown in to do some they're narrating the poem.
Oh
um,
wow. Okay.
and it's yeah, it's been amazing, just seeing it, just shaping together, in animation. And I only have some temp music in there, but I've connected. We've synced back up with our composer Jermaine Stiegel from Canvas as
Oh
well.
nice.
And so, you know he just sent me some music ideas recently. And um, yeah, I so um, right now we're at a stage where we're deep in animation. And I love to always, pay respect to, you know um, the to hand drawn animation. I still love it. And I'm it was a thing that I wanted to do when I first got into animation. So, same with Canvas. We have a couple scenes that are hand drawn, and so, that's like the next hurdle that we're at right now, and trying to find funding. And but I'm not going to go the Kickstarter route this time.
I was gonna say, so
So
now that your I guess your name probably has more clout attached to it in general. You have a lot more doors and avenues open to you. Have you found the process of getting this made the same amount
mhm.
difficult, or has that smoothed things out a little bit in terms of being able to attract the talent or attract financing or whatever else it is?
I mean, I think it definitely helps having Canvas as an independent thing that we did. So people have an idea of the quality we can bring to the next thing. Um,
Mhm.
so it definitely helps. But we're still in a phase where we're trying to, like, figure it out and get it all together. So doing what we can in the meantime, so we can still progress. But yeah, we have some potential partnerships. So we'll see how it plays out.
And then is your plan with this one again? I guess to go to the festival route and all of
Mm.
that, or are you shooting for streaming distribution, or do you have plans that far yet?
Yeah, I mean, that's the goal. The goal is to definitely, take it to festivals. And because I do, I think that's one thing that I wish we did on Canvas. Having we timing is we finished toward the end of the year, or yeah, toward the last, like, quarter. Um, and then Netflix got involved, and so, things happen really quick. So this time, definitely want to try to have, like, a full festival run, like, from, as early in the year as possible, and then, see what happens from there. But just to get the most eyes on it as possible.
That's awesome. It sounds like a really powerful project. I'm excited to see it. I was I like that you mentioned before that
Thanks.
you like to move in silence, right? And that you're kind
Yeah.
of like always down in the lab working on something. And when people kind of reveal to the world that they've got something in the works, especially someone with a pedigree as long and prestigious as yours, uh, I'm always excited because you know it's going to be top notch. You know you're going to be able to attract top notch talent from to every part of the process. And you have a story
Thanks.
to tell. You know you're the type who puts a lot of heart and a lot of themselves into their work, which is
Mm,
really cool. So I think the world's in for a treat, and
thanks.
we're going to help support in any way we can to blast out the word, and whatever that means,
I
in terms
appreciate
of helping
that.
you guys get across the finish line.
It just makes me think about, this just our projects as a whole. The black projects that are out there. It feels like that's become the norm of, like, us promoting us. Which I have no problem with.
Yeah.
But I do wish, if you are connected with a another studio or outlet, whatever it is, just hoping that the support in marketing continues to get better. But I have faith that we're gonna lift each other up, and we're gonna make sure people know when we have something out there.
All right, shifting gears a little bit. There was as we're speaking about African Americans representing ourselves in
Mm.
animation and the community lifting us up. There was a really exciting and I thought beautiful event that happened somewhat recently that a lot of people saw, in the on the socials or whatnot. I think they called it a great day in animation. Can you tell us a little bit about
Yeah,
what that was, how that came to be, and what being involved with that was like?
yeah. So I mean, I I I I want to have everyone look up "Good Day in Harlem." We were basically recreating this photo, but with with as many as many black folks in animation as they could get in the short amount of time. and
I'm
and
not going to put up too much of a fight, but yeah, next time make sure my invitation finds its way. But yeah.
Yeah, man. Yeah. So it was a great time. I mean, I didn't even know who was going to be there. So when I showed up, I'm seeing, just the it was kind of like being at a family reunion. So there's food and everyone talking and stuff, and then but you're seeing the generations. You're seeing, I'm seeing uh folks from Floyd Norman's era, and then we got going down the next generation and the next, and then newer folks that have come into the industry in the last few years, and so it was nice to see just everybody together, and just the amount of talent, and just thinking. I remember finding myself, like, I was kind of like just frozen for a moment. Like, I got some tea or something. I was talking, and then I kind of like zoned out, and I'm looking just the sea of people, and I'm like, damn, like this. And then there was a moment where when everyone's kind of it was like an introduction. Like, each one came down and said their name, and they mentioned your title, and some people, like, mentioned their titles, and a lot of people I knew of, and just seeing that collection of everyone, and seeing, like, just from the generations, what projects and what things everyone has touched. I'm like, it's overwhelming. Like, it's overwhelming, and um it's just, there's a lot of pride in knowing what we've touched, and what we've been a part of, and what we continue to be a part of, and how we continue to grow this industry, and both animation and film in general, and TV and games, and, like, we're everywhere, whether people know it or not.
Yeah, yeah, not enough of us. I'll argue, but yeah, it's
Yeah.
so. important and powerful that they, it's like we're each a thread in this bigger tapestry, right? Everyone's
Mm,
inspiring the next somebody. You've touched so many films, and there's little kids. My son is 2, and he's just sitting watching these movies, that people have worked on, and maybe that's inspiring or lighting that fire in them, and it just kind of keeps going on and on. So
yeah,
being part of that is just so special, and I'm glad they took time to do that, and someone had the foresight to do that. While some of these guys like Floyd and Leo Sullivan and some of these guys are they're getting older up in years, and
yeah,
capturing that moment before we start to lose some of these
yeah.
legends.
Saw
Yeah,
Floyd,
yeah.
saw
So
Leo. Yeah, yeah, it was.
so yeah, I mean, gosh,
Yeah,
just like everybody was up there. Peter Ramsey, Bruce Smith, Everett, of course. Like there's just
yeah,
just so many people who have I think of it as like you throw your like rock in the lake, and it's just those ripples just go out now, 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 and they just touch so many people, and there's so many like points of
yeah.
connection and intersectionality as it relates to those greats. So being among those legends, I certainly consider you one in your own right.
Oh man,
Modern day living
I
legend, and I know
appreciate
you've
it.
touched so many people through your teaching. Whether it's teaching at the
No,
different schools or even speaking on things like this, and just really just sharing your heart, sharing your passion for this craft, and your just inspiring people through your continued growth and learning and pushing down barriers and just trying to do awesome things in this industry is really what it's all about. So we certainly
I
appreciate you
appreciate
for
that.
that. Tip our hats to Frank for that. Um,
Thank you.
as it pertains to that, what would you say are some ways that we've kind of identified some areas for growth? Let's call them.
Mm.
What can we do to amplify Black voices in the storytelling spaces and in the medium as a whole?
For one, supporting the projects. I mean, that's one thing, and sharing them. We talked briefly about that earlier. Like, like just spreading the word. If we catch wind of something, because unfortunately we can't always count on on them being spread out there, on from the marketing of whatever wherever they're attached, and or there's a lot of people doing really great independent work, and so just spreading the word, so getting as many eyes on it as possible, because I feel like um, I feel like there's this thing of, how can I put it? There's this thing of not knowing, and then there's the kind of willful ignorance. There is, so it's like, once when the people talk, like it's undeniable. You can't do anything about that. You can't say anything against that. Like when the people have spoken, there's shows that have come back. There's
Mhm.
shows that were not just come back, but um, well, come back and having an additional season, or come back on a different network, or whatever, because of the people, fans, like what the hell are you doing? Like, why would you get rid of this? We love it, like, or so I think, just the rallying, for these projects, and also the support, if people that are in certain positions that can help, or that can even just not just help in terms of like giving an opportunity, because if I believe that that's not always the good move, if someone isn't ready, because you do want to set
Mhm.
them up for success. So you don't want to give someone an opportunity when it feels like it may be in over their head or something, depending on like where they are. But then there's the other side of knowing, like, even if they don't have the experience, but you see that something where it's like, okay, they haven't done it before, but I know they could do it, like, and taking that chance, because everyone had to start somewhere. So, um, just going back to Canvas, and I know um, there's a lot of trust, not just with me, but like trust that I had in other folks. There was between I think probably across disciplines, just maybe things that people hadn't done before, or not on that scale, or and it's just knowing that you can do it. There was a quote that I remember hearing is like is like 99% of the time when given the opportunity, people will rise to the occasion. I think I don't know if it's Ed Catmull's, but I remember him mentioning it before in one of the like town hall meetings or something. But um, yeah, so the opportunities given, and not just given, but um, opportunities even with like feedback, or when we want to get information. I pick so many people's brains. Just that, the passing down of knowledge. I think that's a big one, because a lot of times when you step in a space and you're not given the opportunity, it's like, how am I supposed to learn? And so
Yeah.
being able to branch out to people, and hear those, and not holding that information hostage within yourself. Like I know there's a silent competition that goes on sometimes, especially in these disciplines where you feel like there's only room for one at a time, or there's only room for just all that kind of stuff that goes on, and just leaning into the idea that there's room for everybody. And the more of us that win, the more opportunity for even more of us to win.
So I wanted to ask, because you sort of touched on it there. Mentorship, I think, is so important. It's part of why I started this whole CG Riff thing, and really trying to just kind of touch the next generation and inspire them and kind
Yeah,
of pass
so
that knowledge on. Who were some of your mentors as you were kind of coming up through on your journey?
I mean, so people that I consider friends now, like, and people that I continue to spitball things with, just thinking off the top of my head. I mean, there's one of the first, the first actually was Victor Nabone. He was someone that he encouraged me to go to Animation Mentor, like, when I was in college, and I was like, trying to like progress, and trying to get going somewhere. He was like, I still remember that email. He was like, if you're serious about animation, and I can see that you are, like, I recommend blah blah blah. And so I went to Animation Mentor. He ended up being my first mentor. And then, but I had asked him one time, like, can we continue this? Can I continue to send you work? And so that kept up. I would work on stuff. I get feedback from him, and then so Victor is one of them. Jamal Bradley, Everett Downing, Bruce Smith, Peter Ramsey, um, even people outside of animation, that I get, like, um, just nuggets from, Jaleel White, the Ryan Coogler, God, Roy Wood Jr., like, there people um, that I've been able to connect with, and kind of continue to not just foster like the friendship, but like, um, learn from their experiences as well. Robert Townsend, he was a big one, like, in terms of like pitching, and getting into that space. Like, he was a big help for me. Like, when I was, I remember when I was doing my first pitch, um, somewhere, and he's like, practice with me, like, and so, like, practice pitching with him, and then, like, stop it. Okay, so you said that, but I don't know this. And so, like, just kind of honing in on kind of ways that I could level up in that on that side of things. And just a lot of people that I worked with, like, it's just keeping your eye on people. Brad Bird, Pete Doctor, those were two that I um really admire, just before getting to Pixar. And then while they're trying to, like, really learn from them in terms of like how they work, but also, I credit them in special thanks on Canvas, because they were ones that really, they took the time to, like, look at the short, and offer some feedback, and when they really didn't have to, and were probably way too busy to in the first place. Um, but yeah, the same thing. Kemp Powers, when he came in on Soul, and we got close and continued that friendship, and picking his brain on navigating, and also navigating the space of writing as well, and like, yeah, Jorge Gutierrez and Shannon Tyndall, and just, yeah.
You're connected to a lot of people, and it's interesting because some of those people are animation famous, I'll say, right? The Victor DeBones
Mm,
and stuff of the world for sure. Pete Doctor Brad, um,
mm,
and then some of those are like real deal celebrities, right? You got Urkel in there and Meteor Man and all that. So how did you go about? I guess how did those relationships form? How did you go from a guy who's kind of making his way through animation spaces to someone who is able to kind of
mm.
foster these relationships with a Roy Wood Jr. or some of these guys? Like, did that happen just kind of organically, or is that more through like social media, or
Yeah.
how did that come about?
No, just organically. I mean, whether it was, I mean, it came out of just wanting to talk to them, just wanting to talk, and people that I admired, that I, got, I guess, got to know outside of their work, not through them yet though. So that's why I wanted to talk to them. But I remember Karen Parsons was one, who played early on Fresh Prince. I remember talking to her about the differences between, when I was thinking of like representation and stuff, like just figuring out like what's the difference, what's, managers and agents, like what's, just, but before that, like having conversations, and because, especially these people have had, um, quite the experience within the industry. There's a lot of things that we don't learn in terms of like how to navigate this space, especially when you branch out to doing, you're basically freelance, um, actors, directors. So unless you're like an in-house director somewhere, um, it's yeah, just coming to them as people, 'cause they're people that just happen to do some cool stuff. And
Yeah,
so,
yeah.
and so wanting to learn from them, and I would do it at Pixar, sometimes, where, I would, see if I can have a conversation with people, at the studio. And I think it kind of fizzled out, but like, that was fun to do, just to have those conversations, and share it with, the audience, so, um, yeah. And even now, there's people on Instagram or Twitter, or wherever, that see something cool they did, and I hit up, throw a message, and there's a guy that was doing like some really cool, game development stuff, and I had wanted to work on a BMX game at one point, so I'm like asking him questions, we're talking and stuff, and trying to see if there's a way we can collaborate or something. And then there's
For those
another,
of you who don't know, Frank is nasty on a BMX bike. Find his videos online, but I was blown away the first time I saw him doing backflips and all that stuff. He's the real deal. So you got a lot
uh,
of hidden talents, right? A man of many talents.
yeah, I appreciate that. Yeah, it's just my curiosity, I guess. It's, with that stuff, and then, even people doing crazy stop motion stuff, and I'm like, how do you even do that? Like how do you get a character to jump? Like, how do you set that up? Even if I'm not planning on doing it, I just want to know. I just want
Yeah,
to.
yeah, that curious brain. Yeah, for sure.
Yeah, yeah.
Well, awesome, Frank. In the interest of time, I definitely, I don't want to hold you too long, but I want to know, and I'm sure all of the viewers at home are interested in hearing as well. What's next for Frank? Right? What do you kind of see as your career continues to progress? You've touched so many things. You like I said, you've kind of hit the upper echelons of a lot of things already. But you're still pretty young. You got a lot of road ahead of you. We hope. Um, so what's coming down the pipe after Black Man, Black Man? What types of things would you be interested in working on? What do you kind of picture for the future of your career as it continues to progress?
Yeah, I mean, thank you for all this, for starters. But I mean, I think, next stuff that I've been developing a few films. I spent a couple years at Netflix developing a feature there, and then now I have some of my own features that I've been developing. So getting those out into the world, um, and really wanting to hammer down on you know the personal stories that matter to me, and um, not limiting them. Just I talk about it a lot, but just the idea that animation is not a genre. It is a medium for us to tell stories, and I feel like you can tell any story you want to tell in animation. It doesn't matter. It's not a medium for kids that's just like only for kids. We can tell more mature stories in animation. We can have rated R, rated MA, like whatever. It doesn't matter. Like, and so some of the stories that I have are like very PG-13 and up. Like, and so just maybe it'll take those ones a little longer to get out there, but I'm
Yeah, I
I'm
saw
I'm
your
gonna find
post
a
the other
way.
day. How frustrating it is that yeah, people think that it's taking a risk to do something that's not just for a G family audience. And of course,
Yeah.
some of the biggest ones have brought a lot of people into the seats that way. But I mean,
Mm,
you've seen the success of more mature things recently. Arcane, even
mm,
the Spider Verse, the tone of it, right? That there is an appetite for that, of course, and I'm not sure
yeah.
why distributors and all these people get so nervous when something's not just cuddly and
Money,
fun.
money.
Yeah,
It's,
but I
it's,
mean,
it's
I
always
think some of these things have been some amount of viable successes. And I'm not sure how they
yeah.
track it all with this streaming type stuff. But I mean, when Arcane was out, I had no like connection to League of Legends or anything like that. But
Mm,
everybody just kept talking about it. I kept hearing so much buzz about it. I'm like, okay, I'll give this a try. And then 3 minutes into the first episode, I'm like glued to it. And then I just like binged the whole
yeah.
rest of the thing because
See that?
the storytelling and the world building and all these things was just so exciting. And it's like
Yeah.
that's such a missed opportunity when people kind of get in their tunnel vision and then don't
Hmm.
want to take those risks. But that's the
Yeah.
story for another day.
Yeah. I mean, it's yeah. That can be a whole thing, and it's in a whole episode in its own.
Yeah.
Like, it's a because I mean that stuff right there, what you just said, like it's if you're reading the audiences around, like watching, like you see how successful these projects are. You see that people want more, and it's like, so why do you keep considering this to be a risk? Like, just because you may not make as much money as you would with something for a younger audience, because parents have to take their kids to go, so you're getting more ticket sales. Like, I don't know. I'm It's frustrating, but I still have faith, and I believe that there are people out there, you know, that the people that can make these things happen, on a studio level, executive level, um, that have the same view, and it may not be in the U.S. I don't know, but I'm gonna find a way. So
Well, we believe in you. I'm gonna take it upon myself to speak on behalf of the animation community and the African American community and say we are proud of you.
uh,
Continue doing what you're doing, man. You really are a bright star out there doing a lot of great things, and
I
I'm sure
appreciate it.
our viewers will agree that we're excited for you to continue putting your heart onto the screen in whatever medium, whatever that looks like for you as you continue to progress through your career. I can't
Thank
thank you
you.
enough for kicking this off, man. This is our very first podcast. I've never done anything like this, but really want to get some just all these. I just want to get talented creators in front of people to hear your heart, hear your story, and maybe inspire some people. So thank you, thank you, thank you to
Thank
everyone out
you.
there. Don't forget to take some time to reflect and acknowledge during this Black History Month all those who've come before and those who are currently creating Black history right now. Thanks, man. Any last words for the people out there before I let you go?
Uh, just keep creating, and find a way, make a way to get those stories out, because they matter.
Beautiful. That's no better way to end it than that right there.